Hi Rodney and Watch It Play viewers. My name is John Gallant and I'm here to chime in on Rodney's Table Talk Episode 1 question of how I learn games. I run a pretty large board game night every week, and oftentimes I play the role of board game teacher, oftentimes new games that people haven't played before. And with that, I really need to know the ins and outs of every game that I have or bring to the game night so I can answer questions really quickly to keep the games flowing at a good pace. So with that, the main thing that I do obviously is I read the rule book. And oftentimes with games that last under an hour or so, just reading through the rule book once is often a good enough feel for the game. And I'll understand how the game flows and how I'm going to teach it to new people. So things like Pandemic, Suburbia, and even Glory to Rome, to some extent, are all pretty straightforward when you read the rulebook through once. Now, not every game is going to last under an hour, so obviously there are games out there that are more complicated and there's more going on. So in that case, I'll usually read the rulebook again, and possibly even a third time, just to make sure I haven't missed any little fiddly details. The next step, if I'm still not sure how the game will flow during the course of gameplay, I'll often set it up and do a solo run through myself. So something like CO2, which is ridiculously hard to learn from the rulebook alone. I read that 3 times and watched a rules explanation from the designer, and I still had trouble until I took it out of the box, set it all up, and I was ready to go. Even with all that preparation I did, the first time I played it through by myself and taught it to new people, we still played things wrong. So I had to go back, go through the rules one more time, and then I went ahead and just made some notes to myself about some common issues, some big things to keep in mind, and just little fiddly things that are easy to forget. And that process is easy when the rulebook is very straightforward and easy to understand. The main thing that I look for to help me really understand how that game is going to look on the table is a picture of what it looks like on the table with all the components set up so you can really see where all those nice shiny bits go. I have a problem with some companies that make rule books that, well, they just don't work for me. Fantasy Flight and GMT, for instance. So something like Twilight Struggle, big list of rules, doesn't teach you how to play the game. Garbage. As much as I love Android Netrunner, rulebook, not very good because it constantly references other places in the rulebook that you have to flip to. But it's not as bad as Game of Thrones. Terrible, terrible book where you have to constantly flip back and forth. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure story where you have to read one thing, go to another page, flip back so that you remember what you were trying to understand in the first place. Not very well done. Giving an overview of phases and steps when you're teaching a game is fine, but for me it doesn't really work well in a rule book. You really want to have all the information for a phase and actions all in one spot so it's easy to reference, because if you're playing it for the first time, chances are you're going to get something wrong. Oftentimes you've learned a game but haven't played it for a long time. And there are many examples on the shelf behind me that fit into that category. So even though you might have learned it once, going back to relearn a game can be a chore. So to just refresh your memory, some aids that I use. Universal Head has game sheets with a summary of all the rules for lots of games, so you can check that out. We also do a lot of commuting. So I tend to put up a podcast from Ryan Sturm, the How to Play podcast. He does a teaching guide and a thorough explanation of rules for a variety of different games like Eclipse and Game of Thrones. So if I haven't played a game for a while, then I'll go back and kind of relearn the game that way. And it usually jogs my brain enough that I can go out and play it and have a good time. So there you have it, the tips and tricks that I use to learn a game and sometimes relearn a game in order to go out and teach it or have a good time myself. So again, my name is John Gallant, and until next time, keep playing more games more often. now a word from our sponsor.
Do you need a product to up your anxiety and indirectly keep you focused? Need help with those pesky rulebook fires? Of course you do. Introducing Watch Your Plate Emergency Water. It's crystal clear and delicious with 0 fat and 0 calories. If you're a heavy gamer watching your waistline, this product will have you thinner than a meeple in no time. Ah, gamey. Watch Your Plate Emergency Water is perfect for having around next to your shiny new board game as you're trying to learn it. Because the fear of accidentally knocking it over, ruining that shiny new board game, will hone your focus to razor-sharp levels. For maximum effect, we recommend a glass with a narrow base. The more top-heavy, the better. Act now and you receive 1 bottle of Watch Your Plate Emergency Water for the low price of $4.99. Not enough? Well, you can get a 6-pack of Watch Your Plate Emergency Water for $29.99. If that's not a deal, then I'm Tom Vassell. If you email within the next 30 minutes, we'll even throw in a set of super easy to knock over glasses as a stretch goal. Order today or drop and give me a D20.
Watch Your Plate Emergency Water is not a real product. Please do not email.